I was very fortunate to get such a kind of an employer. And maybe at that point in time, in the mid 80s, I was.
Welcome to How I Got the Job, guys. So, this show is all about careers. Every week, we host somebody from a different career field and we get to know as to how they entered that field and how they've been doing. But today's episode is a bit different. Today's episode is not just about getting to your dream job, but sustaining through that dream job of yours for 4 long decades, and what are the ups and downs that come when you are in a single career for so long. Today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Satish Shenoy. He has been working for some of the renowned groups like Aditya Birla Group. He's also one of he has also been the president of the Internal Auditing College of Bombay, and there are a lot of lists to his achievements, which I would like him to speak for himself. And throughout this interview, we're going to learn a lot about the way CACS has been changing over the past few decades, as he's been in this field for 40 years. So, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good evening to all the participants and a very good evening to you as well. So how do you want me to start?
Yeah, so first things first, sir, you cleared your CA in your first attempt. You cleared your CS in the first attempt, but how and when did you decide that you're going to get into this field?
Fine. I think it's a very good question. You started at the right place, I must say. I come from a very humble background, and
Yeah,
I schooled in Don Bosco High School at Bombay, Batunga, and
yeah,
I had a very humble background, and I used to play a lot of cricket in school, and I
okay.
continued playing cricket right through my career. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so uh, I used to play a lot of cricket. In fact, that year we won the Giles Shield, which is the junior cricket tournament, where Ravi Shastri was the captain. I used to
Yeah,
play for a club where Sanjay Manjrekar, Ravi Shastri, Sushi
uh-huh.
Ratan Reddy, Alan Sippy, so many people were there in the team. And
Yeah,
so at some point in time, I realized that cricket might not get me anywhere, because ultimately only 11 people will participate in the team for the
yeah.
country. So however good you may be, there's a limitation for that. Uh, Coming to my interests, I was always interested in the commercial aspects of it, though of course as a child, as a eighth standard person in
Okay.
70s, late 70s, you will appreciate that there wasn't so much of information available. There wasn't a Google for us. There was just some textbooks and some things floating around. So there wasn't
Okay.
much of like career options as there are today. And
Yeah.
so out of that, I had to choose. We also had done, the school had done as career counseling. I don't know what they called it. They called it something, but they kind of said, and I still have that piece of paper which says that I can do well in commerce. And anyway,
Okay.
commerce was my interest, and therefore I
Mm-hmm.
had decided that after my 10th standard exams, I'll pursue cricket, and
Yeah.
I will do commerce so that I get some more time, because commerce, the impact of studies is lesser. That's what we all
Yeah.
believe, and therefore
Uh-huh.
I chose commerce. That was the start of my how I actually chose commerce over science and arts. And
Yeah.
of course, I was a very bad science student in any case. So after I got into college, I realized that the gap between my abilities and the ones that are required to excel, even to come in say the Bombay team or anything like that,
Yeah.
I realized that the gap between my skill sets and what the skill sets are required for playing for, say, Bombay, the state, and thereafter the
Mm-hmm.
country, there was a wide gap. And I had
Okay.
fortunately the ability to understand that. And financially, definitely, I knew that if I don't do well in studies, I'm going to be a goner as far as I'm personally concerned. And therefore,
Okay.
I decided to kind of quit cricket. This was when I was in 12th. I played for Podar College also, because I got admission in Podar College on my sports quota. So I got into a sports quota in Podar College, and thereafter I represented college for about 1.5, 2 years actually. And then in the second year, I realized that I'm not getting anywhere with my cricket,
Yeah.
and therefore concentrated on studies. And the only course in commerce at that point in time, which I knew was doing well, was the chartered accountancy course, and therefore I decided to pursue the CA course at that point in time.
Okay. How did you start the preparation once you decided that you'll go with CA?
Oh, that's a good one. So I used to just rely on textbooks. I used to just rely on friends because I was in Podar College. There were a lot of people who were pursuing CA at that point in time. I think there were
Yeah.
181 of us. I remember the number. We were about
Yeah.
181 of us. And so that became a very collaborative effort in any case. And that's how, I mean, it was tough, but it was very doable. It was enjoyable. I started
Uh-huh.
liking the subject, and
Okay.
that comes to the philosophy of, again, I will say that you must choose something which you like to do. Once you like to do no something, then it isn't a work, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose you don't like science and I'm forced to study science, then it becomes a
Yeah.
big burden. It becomes a work. Oh
Mm-hmm.
god, why am I doing this? Maza nahi aa raha hai. And
Uh,
all these kind of things. But once you start enjoying it, once you're passionate about something, then automatically that stops becoming a work. It becomes a passion, and
yeah.
it's something which becomes easier. It doesn't become easy, it becomes a little bit easier to kind of pursue. That's
Okay.
my thought.
That's lovely. Why did you pursue CS and CWA as well along the
uh,
way?
that's another, I think, yes, actually, I after my job, after my qualification as a chartered accountant,
Mm-hmm.
I got a job in Hindustan Petroleum, which is a public sector
Okay.
company, and
Uh-huh.
it was a 8,000 crore company those days. Today, 1 billion
Yeah.
US dollars, but 8,000 crores in those days was a big figure. You know, it's equivalent
Mm-hmm.
to today's 1.5 lakh crores. But
Yeah.
whatever, I mean, it was a big company, and I was fortunate. There was some written exam and other things which I cleared, and then got through into that job. And so that job took me to lots of places, and I used to really have
Uh-huh.
fun. At
Yeah.
that point in time, my employer also was very conducive. You know, they helped me to, and when I just said that, you know, I want to pursue the company secretary exam, they went all out, and they really went out of their way. They ensured that I don't have to travel too much during my exam
Yeah.
days. While I was on exam, while I was traveling also, I know I very fondly recollect that my boss, we used to share a room, and he would just sit very quietly, and he will and not make any noise, not switch on the TV. And when I
Yeah.
asked him why, he said, "No, no, you're studying." And I'm remembering my own son, who's studying. Who, if it was him, then this is what I would do, and all these kind of these sort of soft
Mm-hmm.
tales or whatever, bringing tears in the
Yeah.
eyes and things like that. But that's a reality. And I was very fortunate to get such a kind of an employer at maybe at that point in time in the mid 80s, I will say, late 80s. And
Yeah.
but they were very supportive, and that's why I in fact resumed my cricket as well at that time, because I joined
Mm-hmm.
the Hindustan Petroleum cricket team as well. I went on to captain that team, but
That's
that's a
lovely.
that's a side show. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I did well in my job as well, and I got this opportunity, and I decided that I'm going to crack this examination. That's why I did CS, and after I completed CS, I realized that there were some exemptions in the cost accountancy. You don't have to say in the intermediate exam there would be, I think at that time, 8 papers, but I had to only give 4 papers. And in the final again, there was some 8 papers again, and I had to give only 4 papers. So there were a lot of exemptions by virtue of being a company secretary at the institute level. And therefore, I thought that while I'm on the go, it's better to, pursue and complete whatever studies that was required. And that's how I think I easily and in a very enjoyable way, I got the degree as well. I got to travel, I got to do work, I got some money as well. However little money it may have been, but I got that money at the right point in time.
So, sir, can you give us some tips, and to all our viewers that are watching this, what would be your tips for somebody who's attempting for CA or CS?
So nice. I think, again, I come back to the point that I was making earlier, that we must be passionate. We must like the subject, whatever subject it may be. If it's engineering, it could be anything. It could be about,
Yeah.
movie making or whatever course you're pursuing. You should be, first of all, passionate about it. Once you're passionate, that interest starts. Put in a little amount of hard work. Once you put in the effort, I would say that earlier, if it required 10 units of effort to gain
Yeah.
something, say pass the exam, today you don't require 10 units of effort. You probably require that 6 or 7 units of effort. Those days, 10 units were required, but there were 100 people willing to put not 10, they were willing to put 12. All that I'm saying is there is competition of a different kind. There are not so many people who are willing to put in that effort. Each one of us must keep thinking about what I should do to get picked, to get called. If there's an interview, they're interviewing 100 people. What to do? India's population
Yeah.
is 140 crores. So for every job, you'll get those kind of people. But what is it that I will do different that will help me to get called out? I may get the job, I may not get the job. I may pass the exam, I may not pass the exam. But what is it that I will do on a continual basis that I will get picked up? The one thing that I will say is every day be a better person, better version of yourself. Every single day as a personality. If you're better than, that's what I call competition. I don't call competition as competing with somebody else. I call competition is competition with myself. So when I'm
Yeah.
competing with myself, I just need to be on a daily basis just 0.01% a better version of myself. And you know the power of compounding. If you compound this, you'll find that in about 3-4 years, you will be twice over. You will be twice over a
Yeah.
better person than what you are. And today, I
That's
think the world is looking out for all these kind of qualities. Technical skills are taken as given.
That's a
So
lovely
yeah,
answer.
but coming back to very specifically answering the question that you asked me,
Uh-huh.
I had the favor of luck. Let me say that. But luck will
Uh-huh.
come only with effort.
Effort. True. Well said. So, in the past 40 years, what's been that one thing or one skill that you've constantly worked on, and it's that skill that you believe has landed you up with big companies like Bharat Petroleum and Aditya Birla Group?
Yeah. Of course, I was with L&T as well, Larsen and Toubro, which is I think one of the best experience that I really had. But yes,
Okay.
I will say that understanding expectations, and I'll talk a
Mhm.
bit about this, and this is probably going to be useful for all of us. Uh, there is something called an expectation, and there is something called a performance, right?
Yeah.
With and this principle is applicable for all kinds of relationship, whether it's an office relationship, girlfriend, boyfriend, brother, sister, societal work, city
Yeah.
expectations, national expectation, anything. This is the formula that I talk about. There is something called expectation and there is something called effort. Okay, so if I put expectation in this bracket, okay, this is the expected, this is what you're expected to do as as a human being, as a brother, as a son, as a daughter, as a friend, as a employee, as an employer, as a boss, as a citizen, as a resident, as a as a traveler in a bus, as a, so any role if you take, there is an expectation. If you sit in a bus, there's an expectation. You will not spit around, you will not keep the place dirty, you will buy a ticket. So there is an expectation. And there is a performance. So let's take an office example. There is an expectation, there is a KRA, there is a job that you need to do, and there is an amount of effort. You need to put 8 hours of effort, you need to work intelligently, you need to work smartly, and all that kind. Okay, so that is an effort that you need to do. Now look at the problem, and that's where I think the catch comes. This is the expectation, this is the effort. Okay, the effort is equal to the expectation in terms of volume. Okay, this much
Yeah.
is what is expecting, this is what you're doing. Now imagine if you are operating, instead of operating here, you're operating at a higher level. Okay,
Yeah.
what happens to this work? The work that you're doing is not expected. You're not expected to do it. So this work is a waste. What happens to this part of the expectation? This part of the expect, because you're operating here. What about this part? This is what was expected from you, but you did not do.
Yeah.
So all the time you need to, the company is not expecting you to work more than that. They are just expecting you to put in that amount of effort. But that effort must be aligned with the expectation. And
Patience.
life is all about matching this expectation with this with the life is all about matching your performance with this expectation. To the extent that you can align this properly, your job is done. However, there is a small problem. This expectation is also not static. What you
Yeah.
expect from your brother, what you expect from your father, what you expect from your mother, what you expect from the society, what you expect from your employer, that is also keeping on changing. So it's a continuous process. That's why we get up every day in the morning and run and do what we are supposed to do. And so to the extent that you, if there's one thing that you want, each one of us must do, is to understand the expectation properly. If you don't understand the expectation, if your boss is not very clear in communicating to
Yeah.
you what is expected, please ask 5 times. You ask why, you'll get the answer. So if your
Mhm.
expectation should be very clear, and in life sometimes the expectation is very clearly spelled out, in some circumstances the expectation is not clearly spelled out, and to that extent, you know that's the fun of life.
That's like a very wise answer. Truly well said. So, as I would like to ask the question on behalf of the candidates who are applying for these jobs. Like, what do the employers expect from them, especially when hiring a CA who's going to manage the accounts and everything of such renowned companies? I'm sure there's a lot of expectations that come up with this role. So, can you discuss about that with us?
So yeah, I've been taking interviews for candidates. See,
Uh-huh.
there is a certain level that you have achieved by passing that exam. Maybe one attempt, two attempts, three attempts. I think the attempts is not, unfortunately, there's a lot
Uh-huh.
of importance being given to the number of attempts and things
Yeah.
like that. But ultimately, who's seeing here? Whether you're, it's not written out here on the head that I'm a first
Uh-huh.
attempt CEO. Ultimately, if you do the work properly, it really doesn't matter whether you're a first attempt CA or a second attempt CA. However,
Okay.
I would say, sorry, I would say that having passed the CA examination, come big groups already understand that this person is intelligent. He's, and all the 10 candidates, all the 20 candidates, all of them are more or less equal, on intelligence, on comprehensiveness, on so many things, because that's time and tested by the institutes, right?
Mhm.
So that is common. Now again, if you see, as a chartered accountant, when I asked the person, the candidate, what would you, which role do you want? So he says, I want to be doing investment banking. I want to do treasury. I want to do,
Uh-huh.
so the expectations itself starts on such a high note. So the next question that is asked is, okay, what do you know about merger and acquisition? Suppose he says, I want to do merger and acquisition. What is the law around merger and acquisition? What are the sections? Which act is applicable? What are the sections that are there? What can you tell me what was the last merger and acquisition that has happened in the industry? Or can you tell me the merger between PNG and HUL? Or can you tell me any failed merger? Or can you tell me how Chorus was bought over by Tata Steel? Or how Orient got failed with respect to Indian Hotels? Or any such example? And then the person just looks at you and he says, "No, sir, that I don't know, sir. I don't know about it, sir." Then that becomes a black spot. See, if you are interested in merger and acquisition, of course, you would not have done any merger and acquisition in your life, but you have that interest because you're saying, I want to get into M&A of the company, of a large group.
Mhm.
So I should have then read about, suppose I'm going for an interview in L&T, I should have read about all the joint ventures that L&T has and how they are
Yeah.
structured, because those are available. Today, you've got Google. You got that information. If you open the annual report, you've got all that listed out. You must know what is happening in the industry. You must
Mhm.
do a lot of reading about the company. Most of the candidates, I'm sorry to say, and I'm not talking only for chartered account, I'm talking generally, that most of the candidates don't even read up about the company. What business is L&T into? Ah, L&T is into projects. What kind of projects? Which projects L&T is doing? Sir, that I don't know. Once you give me job, sir, I will know, sir. That is not the answer. That's not a profession. So you must understand, you must spend a day before you go for an interview in any company. You go to Godrej for an interview, you should understand that Godrej properties, Godrej soaps, Godrej, two groups in Godrej. All that you should have a proper hands-on knowledge. Whether you're asked or not asked, that knowledge is not going to go waste. It will help you sometime, some goddamn time is going to help. But go
Yeah.
prepared. So you should be very pleasant. You should be very open. What you don't know, you should have the conviction to say that I don't know. Out of 10 questions, if you don't know 8 questions, then that's a flop. And people
Yeah.
generally I have seen don't ask very difficult questions. They ask questions where you say your strengths lie. And when you
Mhm.
say this is my strength, please make sure you know maximum story. Yeah.
Okay, well said. So, sir, as somebody who spent 33 plus years in internal auditing and 8 plus years in finance, so did this field ever get monotonous for you, or
Wow.
were there any lows in these past 40 years that you come across?
It will be a lie if I say that there has been no lows. Of course, there have been
Uh-huh.
lows and highs. I mean, in any graph,
Yeah,
anywhere, if you see, there are ebbs
yeah.
and troughs and ebbs because that's how life is. So there have been lows. There have been some brilliant highs as well. And
Uh-huh.
I think the most important thing is to make your own job exciting. And I
Yeah.
would say that though many people feel that auditing is a very boring thing, it's a very routine thing. I think
Mm-hmm.
things are boring and routine depending on what you make out of it. A lotus
Yeah.
flower doesn't say that, oh, how boring it is. I'm in such a dirty environment. TN Session, the election commissioner, did not say that, what election commissioner, yeah, useless bloody job, you
Yeah.
know. And today, if out of all the election commissioners that India has ever had, we only remember TN Session
Mm-hmm.
because he decided that this is my job and I'm going to make a difference. So you have to be versatile and you have to do what the situation demands. That's very important.
Okay, that's lovely. And so, comparing the time to when you started out in this industry and now when you're one of the most successful CAs in the country, how do you think things have changed for the better? For
You have to be relevant. That's the other
Mhm.
important thing that you need to do. You whatever, like when I studied this chartered accountancy course, there was a
Yeah,
Companies Act 1956 that got replaced
uh-huh.
by the 2013 Act.
Yeah,
When I studied, there was a something called sales tax. It became VAT.
uh-huh.
VAT became GST. Right?
Yes,
There
yeah,
was a income tax. Then there was a direct tax code that came, and then the sections keep changing, and obviously there are so many different sections that have got changed over the income tax in the
yeah.
income tax act. So any subject, if I touch my hand on, it was not what was there in the 80s. It has
Mm-hmm.
changed. So while the change is happening, you have to be relevant, and therefore you have to understand what the change is. Suppose I'm in technology, forget about CA. Now, if I say, no, 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 how was I doing banking in 1980s? I had to walk 3 kilometers, go to Matunga, go on the second floor of Canara Bank and deposit my dividend check by filling up a pay slip and all that nonsense I used to do for a 25 rupee check. Of course, that amount was also large, but I had to do all that to deposit a check. And today you see how dividends are getting credited, how dividends are getting
Yeah.
paid. So the technology, the way of doing things have completely changed. So you have to be in sync with the time, and that is important. And one very important thing is professionals don't talk about past successes. For them, the success is done and dusted. That's over.
Mm-hmm.
New day, new everything. I have to again become successful. I'm not saying that you should become crazy about success and only think about success. There is something called
Yeah.
balance also in life. You need
Uh-huh.
to balance many things. So otherwise you'll go crazy. You'll go, you'll lose it, and all the good work is gone. So you need to balance, and therefore you need to create hobbies. You need to create things on which you're passionate about. But develop music passion, develop sports. Once you know about cricket, talk about cricket, understand about cricket. I've written about articles of how cricket has helped me in my job. and it's a
Mhm.
30-page article on what all aspects of cricket, like piercing the
Mhm.
field, hitting the ball between the gaps,
Yeah.
or all those things, that even in the office you need to find out, what are the gaps and how do I plug the gaps. All that I'm saying is that can't be the passion, but
Yeah.
always keep something that you can say, oh, forget about the work, let me now,
Mhm.
it's me time. And also do a
Okay.
lot of introspection, always find out what went right, what went wrong,
Got it.
how I can improve. And don't be negative. Don't be negative. Oh, मेरे में ऐसे ही होता है यार भाई, कहीं पे भी जा तो मेरा ऐसा ही है, मैं ऐसे ही है, ऐसे ही है, ऐसे ही है करके it will be like ऐसे ही. Don't use the word
Okay.
try, because the mind is very strong. If you say no, I'll try to do that, then that's over, because the mind knows that he's saying only try here. He's not saying to do. He's just saying try करो. तो यार मैं try किया, नहीं हुआ, ऐसा नहीं, I will do it.
That's lovely. And on that note, I get to the last question of this session. If you were to describe the past 40 years in your words, how would you describe it?
Yeah. I will say that life is beautiful. If
Mm-hmm.
you not watched that movie, Life is Beautiful, please do watch it. So life
Yeah.
is beautiful. Uh, it's again, as I said, how you make what you make out of life. But
Mm-hmm.
life is beautiful. You have to see the good in everything. Today, what is said is important, but how
Yeah.
it is said is more important. So when I communicated anything that has gone wrong and it has to be done better and all of that, then I always make sure that I will I will always make sure that I will tell the thing in the proper way.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't come to office to make mistakes. So you
Yeah.
must do it in a very positive way. You must जोर का धक्का धीरे से. You have to do your job. You have to say something has gone wrong. You have to
Yeah.
call it out. You have to call it out. But there is a way in which it is said. Okay, so that is very important. And I think I've understood this at a very. I was fortunate that I understood this at a very early age, and therefore I'm not seen as a person who's completely negative. Sometimes auditors are
Mm-hmm.
so negative in their connotation that people
Yeah.
don't like them. People don't like them. So yeah, I have also had those kind of issues, but I've been able to dive well with that, and therefore for increasing my own positivity, I started a blog called Reading Corner blog, which I started about 11
Okay.
years ago, and I sent this out daily, and there are almost 6,000 people that I send it out to, and these are carry stories about one-liners which are good, and also some story which has positive connotation. So if I look back, I think there is good in everybody. There is good in everything,
Mm-hmm.
however bad it may be. There is a uh, it is there.
Yeah.
That's how I would really want to. There's one other book called Man's Search for Meaning. Victor
Mm-hmm.
Franklin's book, Man's Search for Meaning. If you get time, it's a little bit a book on philosophy. And in fact, in one of my professional groups, they told me to do a review of that book, and I
Mm-hmm.
suddenly remembered that. Even there's a story about Victor Franklin when he was in a torture camp in Germany, and how he was thinking about it, and that whole he has explained, and he was
Yeah.
able to see the meaning that he wants to live, and he went through that episode. So he saw the good in that as well. So every situation you can see the good, not necessarily see the bad. Even in this COVID times, there are many good things also that came out. So concentrate on the good things.
Yeah.
Bad things will keep on happening. You need to get that. So I
So.
think my 40 years of corporate life have been great. I stopped I of course took a voluntary retirement 6 months ago, because I
Mm-hmm.
decided enough is enough. And in cricket they always say that a cricketer must retire. He's
Yeah.
asked when people ask why and not why not. Okay, अरे यार ये क्यों नहीं जा रहा है? I had taken that to pursue now something else which I have a lot of passion for, and I thought that I'll take a break, because what can I say, that the way the corporate sucks you it can go on forever, and I would have
Yeah.
continued on till I'm 65, and then find out that now I can't travel the world, I can't do what I like, and that's how I'm here for this program at 6 in the evening or even at 3 in the afternoon.
That's
And
lovely.
last advice I will give is always take part in professional development activities. If you
Mm-hmm.
are if you are an engineer, look out for engineering groups, look out for any other group, Rotary, wherever, where you're speaking, public speaking, your confidence of getting up onto the facing the camera, facing the mic, because if you're not able to tell what you're doing, it becomes very difficult for you. So,
Yeah.
knowing is knowing, doing is doing. So make sure that you are seen in those circles, in your own circles. If you're a doctor, then in those medical circles. If you're an engineer, in engineering. If you're an accountant, then in those accounting things. So that's
Yeah.
how I got involved with the Institute of Internal Auditors, Bombay Chartered Accountants Society.
So on that lovely note, thank you so much, sir, for taking time off and showering us with the wisdom that you've garnered over the past 40 years. It was lovely talking to you, and I'm sure our audience enjoyed